it takes Google a lot longer to kind of index and figure out what that stuff is. But if you give them that structured data, they'll add you the pack above the ads, above the organic search results, because it creates a better user experience for them.
Hey everyone, this is Mark DeGrasse, the president of Digital Marketer, and this is the podcast that keeps you up to date on everything you need to know when it comes to digital marketing, from the platforms you'll be focused on to the cutting-edge tactics and tools that are working today. Today, our guest is Amara Omoregie, the CEO of Amara Reps. She has a passion for helping small businesses hit their first million and has done so over a dozen times from scratch, which is fantastic. And she does this through marketing operations and automations, which every business needs to be focusing on today. Today, we're actually talking about SEO and how the old version of SEO worked and how you're going to have to start kind of adjusting your techniques when it comes to modern SEO. So welcome, Amara.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on again. I was actually thinking about the presentation you gave at the M3 Modern Marketing Mastermind event that we had last week. And I was like, man, that was such a simple way to explain the difference between how SEO used to be and how it is today. And honestly, I think the evolution is long overdue because the old way's not very good.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because we have a lot of clients, and so we see a lot of organic traffic declining. What's going on, right? And so over the last 3 years, I've definitely taken a hard look at our optimization practices and Google's algorithm changes and the things that they're wanting to see from publishers, from companies, from local businesses and things like that. And it all started to click one day. I was like, oh, I get what they're trying to do. In fact, I want to talk a little bit about something that I've been thinking about since I did my presentation at M3. I think SEO is such a not sexy topic, and people hate it because it's such a moving target. It seems like you can do all the right things and still not rank very well, right? And the search engines kind of have a mind of their own. However, I feel like right now, today, with the state of SEO, if we don't do some of these things that I'm going to talk about today, it's like making someone take the stairs to get to the 20th floor of a building instead of building a perfectly good elevator.
Oh, that's a great comparison, because I think, well, I mean, we didn't have a choice though. I always like to preface it with that, and that it's actually why I think SEO is so boring. Is we have like this strict rule book that we don't quite understand. It's like one of those documents they submit to Congress. It's like 10,000 pages, and just do these 10,000 things, and everything's gonna be great.
And maybe it'll work out,
maybe,
right?
Maybe we're not gonna tell you if it's gonna work perfectly. Yeah, we might change it next week. So.
Well, and that's the thing, traditional SEO, we had to, bow down to our, the search engine overlords, right? We didn't really have a choice. We had to help the search engine along. It didn't understand words and things like it does now. And so you had to kind of juggle between writing for humans and writing for depth and quality versus writing for the search engine to understand how to categorize your content so that you could actually rank. So you ended up with repetitive content that kind of said the same thing over and over again about 10 different ways, just so that the search engine's like, okay, cool, I got it, I get it, I understand how it all works now, right? Because algorithms understand numbers, they understand code, they understand math and things that are more finite. Language is very, very difficult, even among humans, right? We misinterpret each other all the time, especially in the written form. And so, when we're talking to each other, it's a little bit easier because we have body language, we have visual cues, we have intonation, we have these things. However, when you're writing, you have words that have 3, 4, and 5 different meanings, right? You have all kinds of context, you have sarcasm, you have idioms, you have slang, metaphors, all sorts of different things, right? You have Southerners, you can't understand what the heck they say. I'm just joking.
Hey, I'm in Texas. Well, no, it's so true though, because I think it got super complicated, and then on top of that, language is complicated, the actual algorithms are complicated, but then you also have a group of people that like to game the system, and so I think the algorithms have tried to incorporate all these aspects to get rid of spammers. When it started, we had like the keyword stacking, where somebody would just make the font white, and then they put 10,000 keywords at the bottom, and so you wouldn't see them, but the algorithm would, and it would screw it up. So I kind of understand how it got to be the way it is now, where it's so dumb. But on top of that, we got to fix it. So, let's just start by talking about like what was, the key aspects that used to drive SEO, just to say, here's how you used to do it.
Prior, right? Just like you were talking about those gray hat, black hat tactics where you had to, keyword stuff and hide keywords and cloaking and all that stuff. It was very much keyword focused because we had to really help the search engines figure out what the heck we were even talking about and how it's all related, right? Now, Google really relies on the knowledge graph and intent and entities to be able to help contextualize and better understand how things are related. What's great about that, even if you don't know what I'm talking about, go and Google what I just said, because I don't know if we have time to talk about it all in this podcast episode.
That's fine. They can look it up.
However, what that means is you don't have to say the same word 15 different ways. You can actually write great content that has depth and expertise. That EEAT, those standards that Google is now really pushing hard, is like, hey guys, you don't have to do this anymore. We kind of understand words better now. So write for depth, be authoritative, write about your experiences, write about your expertise in depth and thoroughly, because you don't have to say the same things over and over anymore. We get it now. Cool. Thanks for helping us out. We're ready to move on now, right? It's like when your parents refuse to acknowledge that you've grown up a little bit. I think it's time to recognize that SEO is very different now. So again, we don't need to do a lot of repetition. We don't need to do a lot of keyword stuffing. We can focus on expertise and depth.
That's fantastic.
And then we have link building, right? Link building is very much a practice in SEO. And Google's like, we don't like you to, create these huge directories that are super spammy, that have no context. It's just count of links. It doesn't really help anything. They want natural link attraction. They want social media shares. They want people, I talked about dark social in another presentation I did for M3 a while back. And people are sharing content in communities and in Facebook Messenger and different places which you cannot measure, right? So they want to see people sharing your content because that means it's authoritative enough if people are willing to share, they're trusting it, or for whatever reason. And then getting links from high authority sources, right? So natural link attraction. So the guest blogging, the guest podcasting, all the stuff that you're doing to co-market with partners or in industries that matter or work or coexist, or where you have the same audience. Very, very important. Still do that. But buying links off of Fiverr, not so much.
So, well, that's actually really good info, though, because I think a lot of people, and the backlinking, I mean, I knew entire organizations that were set up with, like, they had all their satellite websites and all of them pointed back to the one website. And it was just such a waste of space. So I think, it's good to know that that still works, but it's only going to work if you do it legitimately.
Yes. You definitely got to provide value, for sure. Like the Yelps of the world work. Because there's reviews, there's images, all those things, right? Google My Business definitely works. Definitely have that set up. So those things work. However, the farms where it's like, every single dentist in, whatever. And it's just like got a list of a million companies that aren't even dentists.
Well, it was funny is that used to be my key technique back in the 2000s when I was like, oh, I'll just, go submit to 500 free directories. Like that was a thing. And so now it's good to know that's gone.
Yeah. I mean, some directories are good, but some of them are just spammy, gross, not good. Next we have, let's actually talk about search and how that's changed. And you probably may notice these things, but haven't really paid attention to it or haven't really thought of how that impacts your strategies and the things that you're doing or need to do. So I'd say about 10, maybe even 15 years ago, I want to go 15 years ago, because I think, Google's been creeping up all these newer, better user experience type search experiences for at least a decade now. We just really haven't paid much attention to it and thought of it more in depth. So today I'm going to challenge you all to do that. Search engine results pages, or SERPs or SERPs, whatever you want to call them, search engine results pages. When you type something in, it spits out a bunch of stuff and says, hey, here's the top 10 things that we think match your search. Did we get it right? Yes, no, maybe so. It was all just this on white background. You had your blue hyperlink at the top, which was your title tag, which went to your website or the page that was ranking. And then it had your meta description. And then eventually Google got, and the search engines got a little more sophisticated. Like, well, we're gonna add a couple more links. If you had really good site structure, they'd add a few more links that maybe were helpful, like your contact page or services page or about page and things of that nature. And that was it. You really were just optimizing for one super basic search experience. And then things like locations started to creep up, where if you were looking for a gas station, and you're in your car, you didn't actually have to click on Chevron's website. Who goes to Chevron's website? No one goes to Chevron's website. I haven't been to Chevron's website. Unless you're an investor looking for a job, I don't know that you've gone to Chevron's website.
How's this gas made?
Right. It's gasoline. However, when you're on the road and need to get to the gas station, Google has improved the user experience so that you don't have to go to their website, look at their store locator, and see if you can find a gas station near you. Because maybe it's Chevron, Shell, whatever. There's all kinds of different gas stations. You want to compare prices. So Google's actually turned the search and results page into a much better user experience. And I don't think a lot of us marketers are actually optimizing for that improved user experience. Could you imagine being on the road and having to find a gas station and have to go to every single gas station's website and look because on the map, so you can see price, you can see how far away it is. If it's right off of the freeway on your route, you can even see, if you're on a side street, if it's easier to go through a neighborhood and on a side street based on how you're traveling to your location. These experiences have gotten better and better and better for people. And so there's this concept of the position zero. And if you haven't heard of it, Google it, position zero. And it's going to cause your traffic to go down just a little bit, but that's totally okay. It's totally fine because the traffic that you do get will be higher intent. It will be, there to look for something very specific. If you can help somebody without them having to come to your website, that means Google's giving you authority. So that's a good thing, right? So we can talk a little bit about what some other areas of the user experience that Google's optimizing for, like recipes and videos and even social. You'll see Twitter feeds on mobile sometimes when you're searching because there's conversations. It's a trending topic. There's conversations around some of the things that you might be searching. Like maybe if it's like news, like somebody famous died, or, a company's going under, or something of that nature. You'll sometimes see a Twitter feed because they could update information a lot faster than Google could crawl blogs and news stations and things like that, right?
Yeah, it's actually just referencing existing indexes, so it makes it 1,000 times easier, which actually is a huge opportunity for the indexes because now you are an authority just because you have so much content, which will hopefully encourage other people to make their own databases and become the relevant, authority within whatever field you want.
I hate to interrupt our podcast, but I have an announcement about digital marketers' content certification. Content without a content marketing strategy is an expensive mistake, but it's one that most businesses are making. When it comes to content marketing, all content should be created with a clear purpose to move a customer or potential customer along the customer value journey. That's why you need Digital Marketers Content Mastery Certification. You'll learn how to leverage a complete content system to strategize, create, and distribute content that just plain works. When you become a certified content marketing strategist, you'll master the craft of systematically creating and promoting content that drives noticeable revenue for any business, and you'll get a badge to prove it. Learn more right now at digitalmarketer.com/content cert.
I love how you talked about the fact that your traffic might go down, but that's going to be okay because it's going to be better traffic. Because I think that's going to be definitely a shift for people, especially marketers, because everybody say, the number went down. Down's never good.
And for those of you that are agency owners, because I know there's those of us that do SEO for their companies, reduction in traffic isn't always a bad thing. If you're looking at the keywords you've lost, it's usually because Google miscontextualized, gave you credit for something you shouldn't have gotten credit for in the first place, right? And so, like, I have a client that works with accountants, for example, and we lost keywords for accountant near me. We don't have a directory for people. They're an education company, right? So it's like, of course they're going to lose that, but we won it all day long because we were so strong, in the accounting topics. However, like we're not relevant for that. So losing traffic for that and losing relevance and losing impressions, because totally fine. Now, if we decided to build a directory, that's a different story. So, recapture that traffic, but does it really benefit the business? Because we're not really there to serve people in that way. We don't necessarily have that. They don't necessarily have that type of offering. So,
and the neat part of that is that now you don't have to worry about trying to get all this traffic from these keywords that are not relevant. Because I think a lot of times we're spending all our time like, I got the list of the 50 keywords I should be ranking on based on whatever you're trying to do, versus just focusing on the ones that is going to get a result. So instead of going for the volume, you're going for the quality.
And that's where I think optimizing for Google or whatever search engine search experience, the improved UX, I think that is a really good indicator of intent. right? So in our conversation at M3, I talked about schema and structured data, right? And it's basically vocabulary that all search engines came together and said, okay, we need to tell developers to help us better understand what's on their pages, right? And so they all came together and go to schema.org, and that's the standard that they all agreed on, so that if you structure your data a certain way, they'll better understand it so they know how to contextualize it. And you'll start to see more featured snippets and rich snippets pop up, like location pages, like recipes. Recipes have their own look and feel. Events have their own pack. They have their own look and feel. Courses have their own pack. They have their own look and feel. If you feed the information in a format that is structured based on the schema standards, you will be reaching people that have higher intent, because Google says, wow, anyone searching for a course on this, we're going to give them a list of just courses that are available they can buy, versus a list of organic options that'll be right underneath it, that they have to click into, see what it's about. Or an event. We want to show people events that are happening within a time frame that someone's asking for, without having to click through the site, see if their event's still on. You know what I mean? It takes Google a lot longer to kind of index and figure out what that stuff is. But if you give them that structured data, they'll add to the pack above the ads, above the organic search results, because it creates a better user experience for them.
Oh, yeah. It's basically turning Google into its own website, where it's like, okay, now instead of just a search engine, here's 300 million dumb results. Like, here's probably the thing you wanted, and it's formatted how you want it because these companies took the time to put in that effort. And just so everybody knows, you might have your own schema that you like to do things, and that's fine, but why not just go with the biggest company in the world that has, here's how you need to specify the information, and just incorporate? Because I've never, I'm a big fan of databases, so I'm always looking at how they structure their, parameters and their fields, and you'll be like, why would you name that? That is way too similar to that one over there, and now I'm confused, and now I'm gonna leave. So it's a good thing, this kind of schema guideline.
Yeah, and it's a little bit different than how you put the information on your website. Like when I gave an example of recipes, they have some ISO 8610 or something like that format for communicating time. So you have to put it in that format so the search engine understands, like, oh, okay, this is how we communicate preparation time, and we want to display that on the search engine so people know, okay, here's a bunch of recipes. Do you want one that takes forever to do, that's super in depth and like gourmet, or do you want something quick and easy, a 10-minute meal or a 10-minute thing, or something that doesn't take a whole hour, something under an hour? Someone searches like chocolate chip cookie that takes less than an hour, chocolate chip cookie recipe that takes less than an hour. If your recipe is that, then it'll pop up. So it's really cool, but you just have to take the extra effort, and it's not very clear, and it's super confusing. So I use a plugin called Rank Math. They make understanding schema a lot better because they have the templates, the most common templates there. That their list of templates is not exhaustive by any means. What's great about that is if you start to see other featured snippets or rich results or what have you in Google, you can click on the page that pops up for your competitor or whatever you're saying, for like, I wonder how they got that, how they won that shelf space, if you will. Click on it and you can drop the link in, and it'll show you what the schema is. Because let's be honest, they're going to start rolling out more and more featured snippets and rich results and things like that that are going to make the user experience even better based on how people are searching and what people are looking for. Because what they don't want is people clicking in and out of websites over and over and over trying to find what they're looking for. They want people to get it right the first time, because otherwise they're going to their communities to find answers. And I think that they've noticed that. Like, they have some of the smartest people in the world working for these search engines. So I think they've noticed that people aren't able to find what they need. So that's where the dark social thing comes from, right? People are asking, who do you use for a lender? Who do you use for this and that?
Well, also, I think it's made their ads less effective, because as soon as you say, okay, I just did 3 searches, I'm not finding what I need. Now I'm going to go to TikTok and see if I can just find a short form video that covers the topic, because I don't want to click on all these things. But on top of that, it's a huge operational lift for Google to deliver 300 million results. If you think of it that way, like, that's still data, and it's still being loaded, and it's still being processed. So I don't know how much processing power you need to do that for, 5 billion users, but it has to be significant. So this makes so much sense for both them and for the user experience, like you're saying.
Well, and the other benefit to all of this, I think I'm going to say the word that everybody's probably waiting for me to say, the word AI, generative
Oh,
AI.
that's gonna be my question.
So what's great about it is AI, learning language models, are using the same structured data to inform context and to provide results to you all. So by actually leaning more into structured data, you're leaning into the future of search. Actually, it's not the future of search. It's now, right? It's not the future of search. This is happening now, right? Now, I just realized that a lot of people just don't know about it. Like, schema's been around for years, right? But, I kind of been lackluster with it unless it was like super obvious what I should do. And I really just been leaning into it more because I've been seeing so many different results pop up in different ways on search pages. I'm like, man, Google's getting really in depth with this. And I'm like, okay, well, let me lean more into schema, because even if there isn't a result for it now, there might be in the future. Like if you're a doctor, there's like a whole set of schema just for physicians. Like your medical, like you can put your practice name. Like there's all kinds of different things that you can add to your site that help Google understand, like, okay, you're a doctor, this is your specialty. So anytime you pop up, your entity pops up on another site, they understand that it's tied to the things that you talk about and who you are and what you do. So when you write articles as an author or whatever, it can all come back and be connected to you, which is great because you're just basically adding to the knowledge graph. So you're basically telling Google, here's who I am. I'm a doctor. Here's what I practice. Here's, my clinic's information if you're in a clinic or in multiple clinics or whatever the case may be. Doctors have movies, have a huge amount of schema that you can add to your website and to your information. Lots of stuff. So Google's getting more in depth in different verticals as well.
I love that. Well, and I think it's, because sometimes I'm like, why didn't they do that before? Like, why didn't they, make the system better? Because it's been fairly stagnant for like a decade at least. And I always tell people it's because of AI, because now I know that I could generate some custom content immediately as fast as I could do a search, and I'll get exactly what I want. And I won't get any of the fluff, and I won't get any of the advertising, and I won't use a bunch of time. So I think it had to come about now because it just wasn't necessary before, because it was our only choice.
Yeah. And I do think that search is going to become, I don't like the ChatGPTs and the Bards of the world are going to be search. I don't think there's going to be a difference. I think they'll all kind of like adopt that conversational. I think people ask bad questions in general. So
it's true.
Like we all do. Like we know what we're trying to accomplish. Like I think we understand symptoms, we don't understand diseases, right? And so when people put information into ChatGPT, Bard, even search, they're putting symptoms in. They're not understand unless they really understand their disease. Most people don't. Most people are just trying to understand their symptoms so they can figure out what their disease is, or they're trying to treat their symptoms because they don't realize that there's a disease there. And so I think with generative AI being so much more intertwined in search, I do think that the search experience is going to very much mimic generative AI, like asking follow-up questions so they can better understand context and where people are trying to go when they're searching for different things. It's already doing that. If you have the Google search generative experience, it's already doing that.
Yeah, well, it's so much better than it used to be. And I love when it has those fields where it's just like, here's the thing you want to know at the very top. Like it's exactly what you asked for. But I think a lot of times you're right. Like people don't know how to ask the question, so it's 100% necessary for the system to understand it. And like for me, if it doesn't get it right, it's super annoying. Like I have this situation in my car. I have a Tesla, and sometimes my son's in the car, he's messing around with the screen, listening to what he wants, and I want to listen to my book on tape, which is on my phone. So I try to plug my Bluetooth headset into my phone, but the phone's connected to the car. And so there's some special thing you could do to make sure it goes to the headphone, not the car. And you try to look up on Google, and of course it just talks about connecting your phone to your car. And then it's like, and then I gave up. I think I did like 6 searches, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to figure it out. I'll just not listen to music, which is a terrible experience. But I even tried ChatGPT. That's what I need to do next is go on ChatGPT.
It's true. It's true because it's probably some sort of knowledge base with some obscure naming or obscure like instruction that's very brand heavy, like, and not user. And that, so part of what I was trying to say in the beginning is this is all important because I don't think SEO is SEO anymore. Yeah, I think there's technical side of it. I think there's a technical side of it. But I think parts of SEO need to be brought into this new way of thinking about it. And I'm kind of trying to develop some content around it, how to better explain it. But my goal around it is to make people understand the human impact of all of this. And so I think parts of SEO need to be brought into this realm called human experience optimization. Because if you think about it, if you go to a website, Google started penalizing sites that took forever to load. Because think about it, I was on a website in Austin and it was country slow. I'm in California, y'all, making fun of Texas. Because y'all make fun of California every time I'm down
get
there.
it. Hey, I'm from California, so I get
Texas
it.
slow. And I love Texas. I have family there, so whatever. But it was Texas slow. And so I kept leaving the website and I kept going down the search result until I could find one that loaded quickly. Right? Like, people just stop going to your site because it doesn't load fast enough. If they can't find what they're looking for, they leave. That's why I was saying it's like not giving people an elevator to get up 20 flights of stairs and making them take the stairs, especially when there's a lot of people trying to take the stairs at the same time. Some of the stuff, if you just don't do it, you're actually making the experience worse for our users and people using the web than if you just do it. And so doing implementing structured data and schema into your websites, making sure you have your Google My Business profile, so you're not making someone have to go to your Chevron site and figure out where your gas station is and things like that. Making sure the user experience on your site's great, like GA4. You no longer have a bounce rate, you have an engaged sessions. So if someone's not on your site for at least 20 seconds, it doesn't count as engaged session. That is a signal that your people went to the wrong place. They don't stay on your site for at least 20 seconds, 10 or 20. I think it's 10 or 20 seconds. I can't remember. Might be 10. And I know you could adjust it as well based on your own settings, which is really cool, but also dangerous. But, so those signals are very important to Google because they're important to people. And so I don't think we're optimizing for the search engine overlords anymore. I think we're optimizing for people more. So I think if we can look at it as human experience optimization, I think we're more inclined to do it.
Oh, I love that. Well, I love the term too, human experience optimization, because it's, it's what we should have been doing the whole time. And if that worked, if all we had to do when the internet started was make good content, then I think the internet would be a completely different place today. But at least we're starting now. And hopefully within, a few years, every time you do a search, you'll find amazing content, which when the internet started, that would happen. You would find new amazing places constantly. And now it's like, if you have a new app that maybe does something useful, you're like, yay, the internet works. But I'm looking forward to modern SEO and, human experience optimization becoming what everybody does. And I know you help with that. So could you tell us where people can learn more about you and possibly doing this for them?
Sure. You can head over to our website, amarareps.com, AMARAREPS.com. We are rebranding, which I'm really excited about.
What's
coming
the
up
name?
soon with a new name. Can't reveal that yet. The new site will be up probably before the end of the year, which I'm really excited about. But we're rebranding. We have a new name, new look, new feel that better explains like who we are, what we do, and how we are jumping into the future of marketing and things like SEO and branding and revenue operations, sales operations, marketing operations, so that companies can generate more revenue and function better.
Fantastic. Well, I love your message. I love your approach, and I love your optimism for the new case and, making SEO not boring, because I think we're all ready for that. And I think it's a huge opportunity. I'm a big content person, so I've always been, SEO was always a consideration, but even for the last 10 years, I always tell people, I'm like, it matters, but how about you just make something good? And then we'll figure out if people want to see it or not. So I think it's all kind of converging into fixing the internet, which is fantastic. And I'm very happy that you're helping everybody out and that you're helping digital marketer, because we appreciate you and all your speeches and mentoring.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
No, thank you so much. And we'll talk to you again soon. And thank you so much for listening. Be sure to hit that follow button so you get notified when all of our new episodes are released. Please share this with that friend who is clueless about digital marketing. And don't forget to visit digitalmarketer.com, where you can access all of our courses, certifications, and training programs. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next time.